And we are live. What's going on, YouTube Live? It's your boy, Billy Rowe. Today is Tuesday. I'd like to welcome you to the first row. If it is Tuesday, you should already know what it is by now. Tuesday is a first row intersation. Tonight's topic is going to be mental proactivity with a good friend of mine by the name of Chris Marshall. Chris, if you could say hello to the people, please.
Hello, hello, hello. Chris Marshall, Mass Society. It's a pleasure to be here with Billy tonight. Being able to talk about mental proactivity, a term he coined about a month and a half ago. It is. You can't steal it. Yeah, man. But thanks for having me on, man.
No problem, no problem. So tonight we're jumping into some new territory. As I always tell you guys, first row is all about growth, propelling ourselves to be the best possible version of us that we can be. So I'm really excited actually to have Chris on tonight because I think he's going to bring a new dimension to the perspective that we've been exploring on this channel over the past 6 months. Hey, what's going on, Mike Lewis? What's going on, JC? So first off, for those who are new with Intersations, I like to say what an intersation is. I like to define intersation. So what intersation is simply when you take an interview and you take a conversation and you put the two together, you get what I call intersation. So in my life, I'm very fortunate to have a plethora of friends. Like I just have an abundance of friends, family, cousins, nieces, nephews, brothers, all kinds of things that I have in my life of people that I interact with on a regular and sometimes infrequent basis. And in those interactions, typically our conversations go beyond that surface level. Oh, how are you? How's the family? All those things. And we actually start diving into more deep and meaningful conversation. What does that mean to you? Why do you think that way? How does that impacted you? How have you grown from that? Those are the types of conversations that I'm very privy to have with a ton of different friends and family and acquaintances. So because I have those conversations, what JC in the live chat recommended one day was, man, my friend, wouldn't it be good if we were able to open up our conversations so that people can see into them and experience the type of growth and inspiration that we experience when we're having these conversations. Thus, Intersations was born. Intersations is literally a lens into these conversations where you as the viewer can see what is going on, you can hear what's going on, and not just see and hear, but you also can interact with what's going on. So though you will see tonight Chris and I going back and forth visually, know that this is an open conversation for you to engage in, for you to be able to add a nugget, for you to be able to ask a question, for you to be able to respond to somebody who's in the live chat feed. This is very much an opportunity for you to not only grow, but to also help others grow. And us as the people who are speaking live grow as well. So don't be shy. Don't be bashful. When you come in, tap in, say that you're here so that we know you're here and we know how to engage with you as this conversation progresses tonight. So with that being said, I've already introduced my guest tonight, Chris. I do want him to take a moment to share with the people a little bit about who he is. You already touched base a little bit, but maybe you can go a little more into detail on Mad Society. But tell the audience a little bit about who you are, what your background is, and why you feel like you'd be a good person to have this conversation on mental proactivity tonight.
Oh man, it's my life. It's everybody's life, but especially with mine, just having conversations with people on a regular, since almost I can remember. I remember back in high school, people telling me about all the problems. Don't worry, I ain't gonna tell on anybody. Got a lot of information, but I was soaking it up, and it just seemed like, the psychology route was the way to go once I got to college. So I studied psychology, got my BA in psychology, got my master's in clinical counseling. All the while I've been doing that, I've been coaching, right? Coaching, helping develop young men and women. So been doing that about 17 years. And like just seeing the need for not just like myself, but others, and especially our youth, to get ahead of the curve on understanding their mind, understanding the skills that go into developing mental toughness. Experience is a great teacher. So I started coaching at Grant when I was in my early 20s. It's like 2004, right? So I was still a pup coming out of school. And so I'm just like, man, you guys should be like me. You guys should be like, you guys should do this. You guys should do that. And I get to realize like early on, like having that expectation was very unrealistic. And so I started utilizing a lot of the skills that I had learned as a player to adapt to start teaching better and doing a bottom up process for them. So, like I said, just the experience that I've had, and some of the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of the kids that I've coached and young men that I've coached over the years, partially led me to believe like, hey, you know what, I'm the person to do this. I got the skill set for it. I got the passion for it, understanding for it. So, not bragging on myself, but I feel like I have a great ability to relate, especially to our youth and especially those, with athletic backgrounds, in that, life wasn't always easy, but I was able to, push through and make some things happen, just trying to give that back.
All right. I'm going to touch in on something that you said a little bit later, but I like how you take that unrealistic expectation and wanting to see like, hey, why don't you guys have this figured out? I think you guys should be rocking with some of the tools that I have. And they're like, yeah, I'm not really trying to hear that because I got to learn through that experience of my own. And I've yet to have that experience. So that's definitely, I think, a major component of tonight's conversation. And it might create a secondary or tertiary question for me to ask you in one of my questions tonight. So with that said, as with all intersations that I do, I start off every intersation with the exact same question, just to give you an opportunity to get used to this slow pitch softball before I start throwing fast pitch hardball. The first question that I like to start off with, when it comes to this topic of mental proactivity, what does that topic mean to you?
What does it mean to me? Definition, or what does it mean to me?
No, what does it mean to you?
Oh man, that's like I said, it's life, man. It's like once I started to figure things out, and by no means do I have everything figured out, but once I started to figure things out, it just made life a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. And we're always looking for ways to make it easier, right? We go buy stuff, think it's gonna make it easier. It doesn't. But understanding how I operated, how my mind works, how other people work, started to make my life easier because I can just roll with punches. I could adapt and move forward with situations. So I started thinking like, man, what if I had this sooner, right? What if I took a psychology class in high school where I really needed it, right? Like you're doing great, right? I get to college to start learning. I was like, oh man, like if I had this, if I knew this, and they say like we don't listen, like people try to impart lessons on us all the time. And it's true to some extent, sometimes we don't listen, but I liked studying things. So if they had presented that information in a class, and I'm like, oh man, so that's how that works. I like puzzles. So for me, this is like, again, it's life, man. I love this. And it gives me the opportunity to help other people get out of their own way. And I don't know, it's just a really good feeling. Like, when people ask like, so when we talk about motivation, it's one of the skills we talk about finding your why. Like, this is one of my whys, like a big one. Just, hey, this means, I don't know, cliche. It means the world to me. I love this. Like, This is my thing. I wake up thinking about it. I go to sleep thinking about it. If we didn't have to pay for things, I would just do this. Like, I'm a fix it type of guy. I just, you know what? There's a solution. You want it?
Yeah. Right. You want it? Are you learning it? Are you interested in applying it? No, I definitely feel that. A lot of what you're saying, that why aspect, plays a role in when I think about this particular topic of mental proactivity. It is, what is that driving engine behind the actions that we choose, the decisions that we make. But from the aspect of mental proactivity, also another thing is honestly about taking that proactive approach to developing the mindset that we're going to need in order to overcome the adversities that we're going to have in the future. So whether that be filing taxes, paying rent, not enough money at the end of the month, all those things that are going to come up in life, having that mental proactivity to say, I'm going to get ready for when these situations present themselves so that I can put myself in the best possible position to solve the riddle at hand, which is always going to be life throwing another thing at you. It's never going to be just one thing. Sometimes you'll get three things at once, and then you got to instantly learn how to juggle and make the moves and the choices in motion. So that way you're still functioning and producing something in the course of your life. So I definitely am feeling the power of that why driving that. And also the not just the why in the sense of why am I doing this, but almost back to that inquisitive nature as children. If you asked it too much in my household, you get popped. But why? Like not just settling for the surface choice, not just settling for the surface circumstances, but asking yourself that deeper question of why. Why is it that way? Why do I think that way? Why did that person who taught me to think that way teach me to think that way? Like all those whys start pulling back these layers that really get to a mental foundation that is really where your core behaviors and choices come from. So and please understand that you have a degree in psychology. I do not. So all my psychological terms just are like remixes that I come up with in my head. So,
everybody came up with a term. You know what I'm saying? The stuff we study, somebody came up with and named it. So,
right.
And that's one of the things that we talk about with the mental skill stuff. There's power in defining things for yourself. Right. True. There's power in naming things.
Right.
So, you start your own thing and you write enough books and enough people get on board. Now we study Billy Rowe.
Hey, shoot, man. I need to get on my book game then, apparently. So I want to put this on to the next question, push us on to the next question. So that's the easiest one you're going to get. I hope you're ready because I'm going to be digging. I'm going to be asking a lot of that why in your answers. So I hope you're ready for it. But the next question I'd like to ask you is, when it comes to this mental proactivity and the type of work that Mad Skill, or I want to call it Mad Skills because I remember your original company, but Mad Society focuses on, in your experience, do we all have some sort of base aptitude of mental proactivity, or is this a skill set that we have to develop individually, and the range may vary? Like somebody may be very immature or very what is the word, entry level, I don't remember the word, but novice, that's the word, novice in mental proactivity, where somebody may start off initially just naturally from an intermediate or semi-advanced level. So in your experience, do we have that base aptitude for mental proactivity, or is that something that is developed?
In my opinion, my humble opinion, I do believe that we all have the aptitude for it, because we do it in other areas of life, which is why I like, with the Mad Society. And you're right, Mad Skills is still a thing. That Mad Skills is the actual program, the actual skill development. Mad Society is the nonprofit avenue, but we all have the aptitude to do it. We showcase it in a lot of other areas of life. So the mental proactivity is just like into initiative. Do you have drive and initiative in any other area of life? If you have that, you can apply it to mental proactivity. You can apply it to your mental health or developing the mental skills. You just need to figure out that you need it, want it, desire it, and then try to get ahead of the curve. Right. So I believe we all have that ability, because the majority of the people that I met take initiative to do something. Right. There's something that everybody wants. Right. It may not be what you think they should be doing, but they go after and get it. So it's just calling attention and calling awareness to the importance of doing that mentally. And that was a big component to why I wanted to start the Mad Skills and the Mad Society. Is we have to get more aware of what's actually going on so we can get active. Because if you don't know what's playing behind the scenes, you don't really know that you need to address it. And that's right. What is the word? It's like kind of a helpless feeling. Mm-hmm. Right. So when I was doing counseling and we're talking about like people with addictions or things like that who, are having trouble changing, is sometimes it's not that they don't want to, and it's not that they're not trying. They don't know how.
Right.
If I have some information that could tell you how to better try to do what you're doing, I'm gonna give that to you. So some of us stumble upon it in life. Some of us need a little bit extra help. So a lot of the skills that we could talk about today are things that I kind of figured out. Luckily, like I'd be at Grant throwing baseballs against the wall, pretending I'm striking people out. Because by the time we got there, it wasn't a baseball school, so
Right.
we're playing pickup baseball games. That wasn't a thing by the time I got there. But I loved baseball, so I used to go to the school and I'd throw balls at the wall, tennis balls, and eventually I started picturing batters and throwing balls like there's a batter, right? Working on my curveball. I get to college and later on in life, and I learned that, oh, that's called imagery. You're using your imagery skill. Top level people use this. I was like, oh, that's what that. It was just came like, this is something I need to do. And it helped. So I kept doing it. So, yeah.
Okay. So you talk about that mental imagery and that kind of helped you develop it over time. But in the beginning, not knowing what it was that you were doing, obviously you found that out at a later date and time that, oh, this is, imagery training where I'm seeing, my mind is seeing me do something. And now because I've seen it so many times mentally, I'm applying it in reality, in the physical realm. And it's like the same way I've seen it in my mind because I've seen it so many times in my mind. So that's one way to develop it over time. But maybe for somebody who is not as disciplined and taking that time, like to really hone in on why they're doing a certain action, why they're throwing the ball against the wall in your example, how does that person increase their aptitude or increase their base of mental proactivity to be able to start to apply it in that area and then apply it in other areas?
I'm gonna go into psychological stuff. It's a readiness for change deal. I can't make you move. I can give you the information. Can't make you move on it. So at the end or beginning, really, for somebody to really jump on board with getting proactive, they're going to have to desire that. They're going to have to make a decision to do it. What we would want for those individuals is to continue to present them with the information or present them with the stimuli, right? To stimulate them to try to go. And unfortunately, not every situation is going to present that. So that's why we have variations of how fast and how slow or how much certain people develop or what we do and don't learn, just based on our environments. So there's those individuals out there that unfortunately this might not ever happen because they're not in environments that are conducive for it. Yeah, which is why this is so important. What you're doing, what I'm doing, getting the information out there, because hopefully somebody's just scrolling through something and it pops up and they decide to take a look and now they hear it. And boom, now the information's in there. You heard it one time and then maybe they hear it again. And then now it's like, maybe I should go look this stuff up. Or it's just somebody that knows you is watching this, haven't never heard anything about it, but hey, I like Billy, I trust Billy, and I'm gonna watch the show. Now you hear about a whole new concept, and now it's presented to you. So that's really all we can do is continue to push the information out there and hope, cast a wide net, hope it hits a lot of people, and then it's going to be up to those individuals to decide that they're ready for it. Like sometimes you're going to get a whooping a few times before you're like, you know what? They kind of serious. I probably shouldn't do this.
Right.
You're going to test the waters. Some people end up learning really quickly, and some people learn later in life. And that's my experience with coaching and speaking into these young athletes, especially the young men, since I coach football. I'm not looking for immediate change. I'm looking for the stories like the kid I saw a couple years ago who I coached at Grant as a freshman in baseball, who came up to me at the gas station, told me how well he's doing. but he had to go to jail for some stuff and sit down for a while. But while he was in there, he was thinking about the things I was telling him back then. You know, he's like, yeah, that got me through. So when I got out, I was doing this and this. And I'm just like, ah, man, tear, you know. Like,
Right.
I mean, I wasn't looking for that. It's just like, I just feel like if I have the information, then it's on me to give it. I can't complain about the world. I can't complain about what these kids are doing because we all like to complain, man. This generation,
Right.
if you have the information, you got to come up off of it. You can't just complain like look at him over there, man. He don't know what he's doing. Go help him out.
Right. Let him reject it, but don't reject it for him. And you know, it's funny because you talk about the young man sitting in jail, and sometimes it's a matter of the seeds we plant. Like sometimes it's just a matter of you saying, "Hey, look, so decisions and choices that you make are important," and leaving it at that. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, this person's like, yeah, talking to their kids, you may not know about it. Hey, decisions and choices are important. And it's something that you planted in them, but they had to go, maybe they were didn't have enough life experiences in order to apply it at that time. But as they experienced things in life and they realized, man, these are the decisions and choices that I'm making, and they're getting me these outcomes that I don't want. Man, these decisions and choices are important. And now they're able to apply that seed that you planted. I want to bring something in from the chat because everybody has said hello. Hello, everybody who is here. Appreciate you guys being live. But Mike Lewis says the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. And that is definitely that readiness for change. If the horse is not thirsty, you can lead them to every single pond in the land. They ain't drinking any water. And so a lot, us as humans, a lot like the horse, if we're not ready for change, we don't thirst for that. I always say the difference between knowledge and wisdom is knowledge is the known information that you have. Wisdom is the application of that knowledge. And so if we're not thirsty enough to even get the knowledge, then we definitely won't have the wisdom to apply, or the knowledge to apply when it comes to using it in our wisdom. So that's a great add. Thanks, Mike, for adding that in. The other thing is when it comes to like the time frame where you talk about, you know, you can complain about something and not do anything. I think part of that is, and I'm, trust me, like I said, I'm making up words throughout this whole thing. I think some of that is our mental proactivity legacy. And the reason why I say it in that order is because it's our mental proactivity, but we're trying to leave a legacy behind. And when you're sitting there and you're complaining or complacent about what this generation after yours, because I mean, I'm sure they said it about our generation and they said it about the generation before that. It's just it's a downhill, it's a rolling downhill effect. But when you're looking at the next generation and you're complaining, oh, you know, they sag in their pants, or they don't do this, or they don't do that, and they don't have any respect. It's like, well, what are you doing to apply a legacy that's going to roll down that hill to them and hopefully educate them to take with them? And one of the things that I'm always very proud of with my oldest son, though we have our challenges, and there's times I want to do what I call a head butt knowledge transfer. There's times I want to do that, but the one thing that I'm proud of is that in our conversations, I've always told him, like, hey, son, you know, the difference between a boy and a man is simply that a boy will not do based on how he feels, but a man will do in spite of how he feels. And so, like, I remember we were having a conversation, and when he recited that to me, he's like, oh, Dad, I always remember what you told me about, you know, the difference between a boy and a man. And I was like, you know, I know what I say, but I'm like, well, what's that? And he was like, you know, a boy doesn't do because of how he feels, but a man does in spite of how he feels. And so, like, that's my rolling that mental proactive legacy down to him, so that later on in life, when he's in those difficult situations and he's like, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to get up and go to work today. I really don't want to work 2 jobs to achieve my dream. He'll be like, you know what? A man who really wants his dream is going to do that in spite of how he feels. And so I just wanted to add that to that. I think it's important that you don't spend time complaining, and you spend more time focusing on that mental proactivity legacy. So with that, I also want to move on to the next question. So I know mental proactivity is a word that I came up with, or a phrase that I came up with. But for you, in what you decided to focus on in with Mad Society and with Mad Skills, where exactly did you come up with this concept of the importance of teaching mental proactivity?
From where, working again with the athletes at Grant, like I just felt like something was lacking, right? And it wasn't the effort or passion or drive or intelligence, like it wasn't none of that. But there was definitely just something missing, so things weren't clicking. So I was always trying to try new things with them, trying to help them out, study halls, all sorts of things. Every time I learn something new, I'm gonna try it, right?
Right.
So I knew I wanted to develop a program at some point to bring back to the heights that was going to help our athletes at least like do better when they left, because a lot of guys felt like they weren't ready when they left. There were all these things sounded like mental to me, mental. It was always coming back, mental.
Right.
So at AR, I was having some of the same problems, and it's kind of easy to think like, hey man, you guys are grown now. You should be able to do such and such. And we still had attrition, rates that were high because of grades. And so you're talking to guys, and I need you to study. I need you to manage your time better. And they're like, yeah, coach, yeah, I'm on it. And then we get the same results. So I decided, let me sit down and actually get to understand these individuals and see if they know what I'm talking about. Because kids are quick to, or people are quick to,
yeah. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
No clue, which is cool. Just say it, and then so we can get it fixed and move on. So I started working with them on all these skills, and I was like, man, again, what if I had these skills? What if somebody had a program that came back and helped me when I was younger? How about I just help these guys out? Because I already know what's coming, right? I'm going to just help you out. I'm going to help you develop these skills a little bit sooner if you take them. Now, if you don't take them, that's not on me, right? I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay with not putting forth the effort to try to help those individuals grow and learn and do the things that are going to help them be more successful, especially when I know what the alternative is out here waiting for them. So it's putting it together is almost the same thing for reasons why we need to be proactive. It's like I saw a need and it needs to be met. I have a skill set. Let me go be more proactive about this instead of waiting for all these kids to mess up and then need counseling or need help out of bad situations. If I can go give them the information that might change their lives a little bit sooner, why not do it?
Right. That's helping in retrospect. Like, oh, now that I see that you messed up, now I'm gonna help you. And I'm gonna be fair because I'm a devil's advocate in this particular situation because of how my mentality is. In some areas, I believe we do need to allow children to make their mistakes and have those experiences of failure to help make them stronger. Hey, what's going on, that guy 916? But it's important for them to have that. But there's also, as adults, it's our responsibility to kind of gird them and guard them and help provide that, what I call in the financial world, the stop loss, to where, yeah, I'm gonna let you fall a little bit, but you're gonna hit this stop loss that's gonna keep you from crashing into the ground. So yeah, I'm gonna give you some cushion so you don't just hit the ground at full speed. So I think that's important. I want to bring a question that Mark Anthony asked to you in the live chat. He says, "What's up, Chris? As a coach, how do you draw the line when it comes to student-coach relations? I know you want to help young men in their overall lives, but what are the boundaries?"
Boundaries. and it's going to be different for everyone. Matter of fact, this kind of speaks to what you and I discussed a little bit yesterday, Billy, about giving only what you're willing to give,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, so there's a couple different lines. Like there's just the legal matters. There's certain lines. You can't do certain things, people. Uh, but beyond that, it's what you're willing to give. Like if you have the resource and you have the time and you want to do it, um, then do it. That's how I draw the line at, again, what I'm willing to give in that moment. Uh, I've done a lot for, some athletes. I had a guy from Alaska staying at my place a couple years ago, and he wanted to better himself. He wanted to play ball, try to earn a scholarship, do some things for himself and his family. And at the time, I had the resource. It's like I had the resource, I had the ability. I made a decision. All right, I'll try this out, and we'll see how it goes. So it didn't go very well, but that's not me. You know what I'm saying? That he made some decisions that weren't very wise. That it's not going to change how I approach my relationships with athletes. So, I have guys over. We feed them, help them get their stuff, do whatever you got to do to help push them forward. Like you said, it's about the future of the legacies and leaving. Like, what do you want? If I want to see change in the world and I have the resource to put forth and do it, then I'm going to try. Does it mean it's going to happen? No. But I'm not going to sit back and I'm not going to try that because I can't see the end result. We never get anywhere. Right. That's actually probably why we haven't gotten very far in certain areas, because we don't see the end result. So we got a lot of people that want to move. That's probably another conversation, businesses and stuff. Supporting things.
All kinds of things fall into that category.
Movements, right?
Yeah, all kinds of things fall into that. Like, well, I just planted this seed and I don't see no apple tree and I don't see no apples. So go ahead and dig that up and we're going to start over. And you spend more time planting seeds and reaping zero harvests because you're constantly uprooting the seed you're planting without giving it any time to spread roots and grow or anything like that. So no, I'm definitely with you on that one. One of the other things, going back to that, giving what you're willing to give, even to add to what you're saying, for me as a father, I have 3 sons and they're at different ages. One that's 16, one that's getting ready to be 12, one that's getting ready to be 5. And they all need different things from me. But I'm very clear and concise with my oldest son. Like, I love you. I'll go to bat for you. If you do something that gets you into some trouble, I'll be there to support you and be by your side. But that said, I can't go down with the ship. So if you come to me and you're like, Dad, I messed up, I did this, and let's say it's a crime, my job as your father is to say, okay, here's how we need to address this. Here's how we need to get you legal protection. But you need to turn yourself in because I can't pull you off the chessboard and pull myself off the chessboard. And now your 2 brothers are left with no male role model to help guide their and shape and sculpt their manhood. So it's really about understanding that there's boundaries and guidelines that are in place, whether they're legal guidelines or moral guidelines. But you have to be willing to not allow yourself to go down with the ship. Like, this ain't the Titanic. We ain't gonna be playing the song. The band ain't gonna be playing while the ship going down. Hey, look, you better hollow out that drum and build yourself a raft. Like, it's time to make some moves. So definitely, I hope that answers your question, Mark. I want to answer or bring a few more things in from the live chat, and then we'll move on to the next question. It looks like Selena says, I love how you I love how you look at what you're doing in a personal way, becoming the person you needed at that age. So she loves that. Mark Anthony and Chris said, or Mark Anthony says he appreciates our response. And then I want to move on to the next question that I have for you, Chris, in regards to this. So part of it, and I'm going to keep leaning back to this unrealistic expectation and that readiness for change, because I think these are really critical parts of the conversation. But part of mental proactivity, how much do you feel that maturity, whether it be age or actual just maturity, plays a role in one's ability to develop a strong sense of mental proactivity?
Um, I guess age, in some ways, a lot, but only because the older you are, the more experiences you could have had. So it's always going to be a quality over quantity type deal, though. So what you're, teaching your young men is setting them leagues ahead of the kids that aren't getting that at home.
Right.
Right. So your kid at 10 is thinking like a 20-year-old, right? Other people's kids at 20 are thinking like a 10-year-old, right? If we were going to put a timeline to it, or if we said like, hey, by this age, you should probably be doing X, Y, and Z. Uh, so I think it does play a factor, especially if we want to talk about stages of development. Most kids aren't going to be able to put together abstract concepts like this until about age 12. But the more you speak this into them, they have the information. So when they get there, it's just
It
smooth
kicks in.
transition, right? The kids are going to put together the concrete logical steps, right, all the way up until that point. And then they get to that point where they can really think about all the outcomes and possibilities and how to take this skill that I learned and apply it in business. Like I learned this skill playing football, but I can apply it to business, or I learned this doing this and apply it to X, Y, and Z. So I tell people, like a lot of people ask me, like, well, what age would you start with, or what would you do for little kids? And I tell them it's creating an environment conducive to learning the skills that you want to learn or develop. You got to create the environment. So if you're talking about self-talk or self-esteem or things like that, and you put posters all around the rooms that are talking about you got it, you're great, you're this, you're that, the mind is taking that in all day,
Right.
every day, right? So that's the message all day, every day. And it's just passive information. You just look at it, oh, there's that sign again. But it's repeating itself. Your mind is taking it in like new information,
Every
right?
day.
It's new information. So the things that we do, no matter what age we are going to help us with that, with the mental proactivity. And so far, we've just been talking about like applying things or concepts and looking towards like our future and what we need to do or how this is going to affect this. And really, for me, this is a two-part conversation because that is one of them. Like that would be the goal setting and like looking towards our future and how our decisions now are going to influence and things like that. The other component of it is actually developing the skills, being proactive and purposefully developing the skills that we're going to need to be more mentally proactive.
Right.
There's levels to this.
So basically that transition from the abstract to the intentional, like, yeah, I'm seeing this sign and I see, my dream board in front of me and the things that I want to achieve abstractly. But then what am I intentionally now as I move my mindset? What am I intentionally doing to achieve those things? And it becomes, it's funny that it becomes very clear, like even like in the sense of credit. We all understand that if you have a good credit score, you can get things that people without good credit scores can't get. However, we will make decisions, intentional decisions, to buy things that don't get us what we really want with our credit and then destroy our credit. And then it's like, well, now I don't have the credit to get the house that I want. Now I don't have the credit to get the car that I want. Now I don't have the credit, and a lot of people don't know this. Now I don't have the credit to get the job that they offered.
Right. And they pull credit checks on that now. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So I think that is a very good thing. And I do want to transition the conversation. I add in, Bruce says absolutely right. It might seem silly, but it's positive reinforcement, those visual things that we see, those visual aids. But I want to transition the conversation because part of this is again back to that what do you say, readiness for change. And I think for many of us, let's take it out of the adolescence realm, out of the teenage realm, and into the more seasoned adults realm. For you, why do you believe as adults that we don't always take the time necessary to be proactive about our mental states?
The first reason is we weren't told to, right? Just if it wasn't presented, then it kind of doesn't exist, right? There's just we intake information, have experiences, and that's our reality,
Mhm.
right? You know, those the indigenous people living on that island, killing everybody trying to get on their island,
Right.
their world's totally different than ours.
Right. They like, nah, y'all don't exist. So we keep telling y'all stop coming here, but you keep coming if you want to. We got a plethora of arrows for you ready to go.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So again, it's if we weren't told, then unfortunately, there's a chance we don't have the information. The other part of it is change is scary,
Hmm.
right? You got to give up something. Like we all want to be successful, right? Just like entrepreneurship and business, you know. You're gonna have some L's, but nobody
Right.
wants to take the L's. So with the being proactive mentally and talk about mental health, and we talking about it from a Black and Brown community standpoint, that's just a no. Like,
Right.
like,
Right.
did you say mental? Like, you say if somebody says you're mental, it's a bad thing, right?
Mhm.
We got to change that. Right? We're going to continue to be played if we don't learn how our mind works, because somebody knows, so they're pulling the strings.
Yeah.
We're like, I don't want to learn that though, because that stuff is. But in your reasoning for not learning it, you're talking about how somebody's using it against you.
Right. And then
You
you want to
might
get
want to learn,
mad about the
but
manipulation of it. Yeah.
right. But change is scary, and it's so scary. And sometimes we just don't want any parts of what it's going to take for us to, be a little bit more healthy, and just learn those new things. So you're asking people to be honest with themselves.
Right.
You're asking them to peel back some layers. Like, you got to get to know yourself. Not the one you've been putting on Instagram and Facebook, not the one that shows up at work. Like, you can't BS yourself, and that's scary,
Right.
right? So being naked in front of the mirror to yourself is a scary deal for a lot of people, and I'm not even comfortable with it all the time. You're like, it's like, man, we ain't having this talk today.
Right. Man, get out of the mirror, man. I ain't talking to you today.
uh,
Yeah.
but I'm fortunate enough in my life to come to a point where I feel like my growth or certain things are more important than my comfortability in a
Right.
certain way. So for a lot of adults, you just think about how much baggage you're unpacking. Like, what was your family teaching you? First of all, what type of issues did you go through as a kid? We already talked about high school. If you survived high school, it's really a traumatic situation for most people. High school is traumatic. You're going through identity crisis because you're trying to figure out who you are as a person while trying to be social, and everybody's lying. Like, Ian, when people were telling me what's going on in school, I was like, okay, so we're all liars. Cool. Like,
Right.
like when I learned that, I was like, you know what? Why do I care? Right? You're like, we're all faking it. We're all trying to do the same thing. We would have all just got together and talked, and we were like, hey, you know what? We all don't know what we're doing.
Right. We all over here trying what somebody else said we should do, and they didn't know what the hell they was talking about. I
Yeah.
remember being in high school, and I remember a girl coming up to me and was like, "Oh, Billy, I heard XYZ about you." And I was like, "That's funny because I'm a virgin. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." She's like, "You don't got to lie about it." And I guess because so many people were accustomed to lying about, "Oh, I'm not a virgin. I didn't." I was like, "No, I'm a virgin. I don't know what you're talking about." And she was like, whatever, you're lying. Oh, okay. I don't know if you understand how this lying thing works, but it typically is supposed to make you look better, not make you look inexperienced.
Right.
So I think you're right, though. It is about that fear, that scariness of going into the unknown. And I can't remember which Wednesday word it was, but I believe it was a Wednesday word that I did. And I was trying to paint this correlation about how strongly fear will cause us to act. And I was reading a previous Facebook post, and it was talking about how if you think fear is not a powerful enough motivator, I said on any given day, you take a mentally stable individual and you put them on the 9th floor of a 10-story building, they will not jump from the window of that building if they're a mentally stable person on any given day. Now you take that same building and you set that building on fire, and now there's a choice between burning alive or risking it on a jump out that window. Some people who are mentally stable will jump out of the window because of the fear of burning alive. And so when you take that fear and you apply it to change, the fear of changing to something that is unknown is so great for some people that they are willing to stay in the known, what one of my counselors used to call it, familiar shit. Like, you'll stay and play in it. You know it's shit. You know it stinks. You know it's going to get you infected somewhere in your body or in your eye, but you'll stay in that rather than risk going into the unknown of getting something that's healthy and it's going to help you become a better version of yourself. So I think you're spot on that. I do want to bring a question because Adam Cruz actually raised his hand. I like that emoji, y'all. If y'all have a question, y'all need to start using that emoji right there. But he says, I have a question. How do I teach 19-year-olds? 15 and under, no sweat. 19 to 20, I'm not connecting with them. Young men especially. What is so vastly different?
Ooh, I don't have a direct answer for that because it could change, like, just depending on where you are, and the population of 19 to 20-year-olds. So I'd have to know, like, what you're teaching or what you're trying to teach them, what your goals are with them, and what the population is. Because, like, we know California is different. We're just different.
Yes, I don't live here anymore, so I definitely can say California is different.
So you talking to, I learned that moving here because I was born here, but I grew up majority of the time in Colorado until high school, and I spent some time in Alaska. So when I came here, it was like, it's different. I was different, definitely, but college, community college, everybody. Are you a professor? An actual professor? Or... I'll wait for that response. So.
Oh, Adam, are you a professor?
Yeah.
Or are you a coach or a student, a mentor? We'll jump back in. We'll jump back on it in a second. Go ahead while he answers that.
Do. Yeah, just answering that question I'd need more information because everybody's so vastly different. Innovation facilitator. Now I'm going to have to ask Adam to define that.
Innovation facilitator. I don't even know how to define that, but it's I don't know. But I think what he's asking is my theory. I only have a theory on it. I can't say it's an absolute, but my theory is that when you are 15 to 18, that age, that window right before you're an adult, but you think you know everything, but you really, like Chris said, you really know you lying and you don't know as much as you act like you know. You're a little more, though you might have some reluctance, you're a little more malleable and receptive to hearing that information that on the surface you're acting like you know, but you really don't know. You're a little more malleable to hear that and say, okay, cool, I'm so glad somebody gave us the answer without me having to say, hey, look, I don't know, because then I was going to look stupid. However, once you start reaching 18, 19, 20, and you're in that young adulthood stage where people are expecting you to know, because what, you still a mama's boy, what, you still a daddy's boy, like you're not really an adult. And it starts to bring into question, if you're just talking about young men, it starts to bring into question your manhood. If you're talking about young women, your womanhood. It'd be like somebody at 18, 19, or 20 being confused about their sexuality. Well, I don't know if I like guys or if I like girls, and I don't know. And so now all these unsureties, it's like you're now looked at as less than by your peers in a different way, as where we were all lying about we knew it, we had it figured out. Now some of us are starting to figure it out, and you don't want to be the last person in your circle of friends figuring it out. You don't want to be the last person to get their light bulb over their head with that eureka moment. So I think the resistance to mentorship for 19, 20, 21, sometimes all the way up to 25 for young men, it comes because any interjection of knowledge and wisdom for those young men is a direct attack in their minds, not intentionally, but in their minds is a direct attack on their manhood or their adulthood. And so that's my theory behind it. And so it's really about figuring out how to navigate to where you are truly coming as an ally and a voice of compassion, a voice of reason, that is not coming in a voice of judgment, like, man, you stupid, you ain't figured this out, you think you know everything. Yeah, and some people need that tough love, but when you're dealing, especially with a stranger unit, you have to build that rapport with them that says, hey, look, you can come to me offline and talk to me about things. And I've had that where young men were not comfortable opening up in a group setting, not opening up in front of their peers. But then when I catch them on their way out, because I caught a look that said, oh, I didn't get that, but I said, oh yeah, I get it. When I catch that look and I act on it, hey, hey, do you mind if I talk to you for a minute? I want to ask you a question about tonight's topic. So when we were talking about X, this is what I was meaning by that. Can you tell me what you got from that, if that worked for you? And giving them the opportunity to say, well, I kind of got it, but I'm a little confused on this part. Now it's not an attack because they're opening up. Well, do you mind if I share a little more with you? So it's about putting yourself in a position to not appear to be an offensive force coming to attack their little plight of manhood that they have established in this 18-month period. It's like, hey, no, I'm coming here to help you reinforce your army, so that way you have a broader base and platform to establish your manhood on, and it's founded on some good moral, ethical ground. So I know that's a very elaborate answer, but that's my theory.
Test it out. I would agree, actually. If that is the angle that you're coming from, I would agree with everything you just said, and that's been my experience. No matter what the age group, that's why I said it kind of just depends on the population. So when I'm at King, subbing, that's a little different population, and I have more success when I pull the kids aside and let them know, like, I'm not here to make you feel any kind of way, but I do know that you need to understand this. So if you don't understand it, you got to let me know so I can help you. I'm here as a resource. All right. But if you continue to do the things you're doing in class, you're going to continue to fall behind. I don't want that. So you're actually putting yourself in the position that you don't want to be in. I had a kid, he came up and gave me a hug one day. Like one of the kids that are like one of their trouble kids, he ran up to me and gave me a hug. And it's side hug, buddy, side hug. I don't know you like that.
Right.
I want to follow, But yeah, so it's just a trial and error type deal. But if you're having those type of issues, pulling some of those individuals aside and trying to, build some common ground and an understanding is key. And so the big thing that you want to think about, as Billy was talking, is build up your active listening skill. So if you can figure out what information they're kicking out, and even just, their facial expressions, mannerisms, the word choice they use, if you can figure that stuff out, it'll give you some inside information on what you need to really connect. And I had a lot of experience working at the group home setting and in a public school for mostly disturbed youth, because rarely was what they were saying or doing what they were trying to communicate.
Right.
Like, F you, you mother effer. You're hungry? Like,
Right.
right? Like, yes. Okay, cool.
Right. There's a different way to say that, but okay. We can start with you're hungry.
Right.
I want to bring in, because Mike Lewis says facilitating innovation in an organization is a skill set that requires profound understanding of what makes innovation happen and how you lead. For innovative, or I think it's for innovation. So for innovation, as well as the empathy, experience, and the ability to guide others to achieve their goals. That's what came from being innovation. All right, cool, got it. And Adam says yes. Apprehension is definitely hard to deal with. Thank you, guys. No problem, Adam. And I thank you. Hey, y'all all got to follow Adam's lead on raising your hand if you got a question. It's easier to see in the live chat. So y'all got to start doing that. Let's continue to move into the questions that I have. And we're actually about 56 minutes in. This time always flies by, but I hope you guys are along for the entire ride tonight. So for you, you have ways that you would use your mental proactivity. You have ways that you've established your mental proactivity, and help to grow your understanding of it. But how do we use mental proactivity in, like, let's just say, real world application? How do we apply it for real?
Well, it's essentially getting to know yourself and goal setting. I want to break it down to like a couple just key things to say, but for me, like, again, two-part deal: developing the mental skills, being proactive in that, definitely important. So in real world, it's what you're doing, how you're spending your time, and then attending to the things that are going on in the moment, so you can better understand how you're experiencing that moment, if that makes sense. Right. So communicating, how am I communicating? Why did I make this decision? Right. What is my intention? So what's my motivation? All right. Understanding, setting goals, the things that we do on a daily basis. If we were paying more attention to them, we're actually being more proactive. Right? Because now we're understanding ourselves, and we're learning. So now we can go off to apply this stuff. And then the activities we're doing, like, for my decision-making class, one of them, I have, the participants play Connect Four.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to make decisions, right? And you have to make decisions based on calculated risks. And in order to be good, you actually have to see those moves upon moves upon moves, which works on developing your imagery skill.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and if it's really competitive and you're a real competitor, you might be working on your emotion management skill. Right.
Right.
You beat me again, So putting yourself in position to, like, work on those and those skills. Now that we built up those skills, and now that we understand ourselves a little bit better, we can apply some of that stuff, down the line as well, to our life. So again, goal setting.
Okay.
You wanted to create something for yourself. What was the first thing you did, Billy?
Man, I started just writing it out. That's with first row. I started doing videos, and then I had to become intentional and start writing things out. And so, like, even to date now, I mean, you've seen when we were on yesterday, I have a template that I use for these shows to keep me organized, structured, uniform in my approach, so that I'm duplicating the same type of content with different messaging. So it does come to being heavily written out, heavily prepped, but not overly prepared. Like, even I send out the questions. I can send them anywhere from a week in advance to 3 days in advance. But I tell people all the time, hey, I don't want you to write out the answer, because I don't want you to be reading to us. I want you to be giving us, like, a heartfelt experience, a heartfelt response. So it's writing is important. And this is why I do so much of it. I don't even know how many, I wonder if I put everything that I've written side by side, how many miles it would be. I think I'd have a couple of miles in it.
Right. So you've taken your experience, right? So it wasn't like this is the first version of your product. It's not the first version. And you came up with a system and structure that works, but it probably wasn't the very first thing. Uh, Again, you took what you learned, took your experiences, and then you thought ahead. You're like, you know what would make this better? What would make this easier? What would be more efficient? Right? You started based on what you knew already, the experience you just had, and then you probably went out and talked to some people. Right? That's why I say mentorship is important. Compiling all that information, and then you applied it. Boom.
Right.
And then you had another experience. Your brain did all that again, applied it. Had another experience. Your brain. The mental proactivity really starts with us intentionally being aware, and then intentionally understanding, and then developing the skills, and then applying.
I like that.
Adaptation.
So from the other side of that, because as I always say, I like to play devil's advocate. Welcome, Brother Antoine. I like to play devil's advocate. So if mental proactivity is important for us to really be honing in on that state of mind or that mindset that we need in order to overcome obstacles, overcome adversity, whatever it may be, is there a such thing that we can experience as being overly proactive? You know, that creating almost like a sense of what I would consider mental callousness, where we're just so numb to every experience because we are so proactive in trying to be mentally strong or mentally sharp for the things that are to come in life.
In some sense, yeah. Yes. In a sense, that would be worry, like someone who is excessively worrying about something, and then again having certain unrealistic expectations about life or dysfunctional thoughts. Right? If you're being proactive in a way, like again, because it's goal setting, like we're like, hey, we're gonna do this show on the second, right? I'm pretty sure you didn't spend the last 2 months worrying about this show. This
No.
right? You set it and then work backwards. I got the show, got to put it on my calendar. Doop, doop, doop. And again, now that you have a structure, it's kind of like plug and play. But if we're just working on that, then we're fine. But some individuals who are going to excessively worry about things, then they're actually, I guess, in my opinion, they're not really even being proactive because they need to work on some things to help them, like their emotion management and even maybe their decision making and their ability to deal with adversity, which is a culmination of all your mental skills put together, and you get your mental toughness. So they're like, well, what if this happens? It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier about not being able to see the results, right? Mm-hmm. They're picking up their seed and they're moving it every other week, right? Because they're worried about the outcome instead of, you know what, this is what I want. What's the process to get there? Now let me work that process. And then at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, right, I'm gonna get some more information and we're gonna try it again. So I guess for those individuals, like, yeah, there could be a sense of that, like you're way too proactive, but then their proactivity isn't very efficient. Okay, so they are in need of working on the skills, like I was talking about. So working on your communication, your imagery, your mindfulness, they got to build those skills up so that they can go out. So that's just like success, right? How you define it, or that's like you want to start a business or go do anything. If you're going to take a chance, then you're going to have to be strong enough for that chance that you're taking, whatever it is. And so building up those skills, and on that side of it, then there's no, in my opinion, I don't believe there's being too proactive when you're talking about developing the actual skills. You do that throughout it. Like, we're always doing it. So when I say be proactive, that just means you're being purposeful. Like, you're doing it on purpose with the purpose, or you're doing it intentionally and you have intent. Like, doing this. So, and that's in the moment. You're in the moment when you're thinking those thoughts. It might be like, I'm doing this to get here, but you're having that conversation with yourself. How is what I'm doing right now helping me? Not, I hope I'm not successful. I mean, I hope I'm successful, or I hope I don't fail. Or I hope none of that stuff is helping me think about the past. Thinking about the future.
Right. I think you articulated it very well, the difference between like worry versus, strategy, where I'm worried about so much in the future that I can't even interact effectively in the present, which is doing that work that you need to develop to be successful in the future. But when you're focused on strategy, it's like, okay, I'm focused on a strategy because I want to get to this point in the future. However, these are the things I'm doing right now, and this is the intention behind me doing them. I mean, I remember when we bought our first house in 2014. The time leading up to that was a 6-month period before we bought the home, and I remember sitting and talking with my mother, because at the time I was living with my mother, and I was like, hey, my family's back in Sacramento. We're going to be buying a house, because I had spoken with my wife at the time and said, hey, do you want to rent or do you want to buy? Because if you want to rent, we got to go. I can't live here with my mom like that. But if you want to buy, that's a different strategy. So I need to understand which way we're going. She's like, I want to buy a house. Okay, great. So now I know the end game is let's buy a house. Got it. So we go to do everything that we need to do. And I mean, I'm working a full-time job. I'm working a side hustle. I'm driving Lyft. Like, I was just enamored with work. And I mean, there were times where, I kid you not, they'd be like, oh, we got to go to this birthday party. And I'd be like, okay. And as soon as I sit down at the party, I'm lights out. But I knew that this was only a season of time. And so, though I was exhausted, though I was tired, when it came time to start shelling out the money, oh, well, you got to pay this off. You got to pay $5,000 of your debt off before you can qualify for this house. Here's $5,000. Okay, you got to come up with this money for this. Here's that money. Okay, now you need to come up with this money for that. Here's that money. Okay, now you're at escrow office and you need another $1,500. Here's that money. And it was because during that time, I wasn't worried about, well, what happens when all the costs come in and they need money for this and they, I was doing the actions and the activities of acquiring the money that I would need. And even though in some ways we fell short, I was still able to, through relationships, get the additional money that we needed and have that money taken care of as well. So I think you're right. You're spot on when you say it's the difference between worry versus strategy. There's a couple more questions I want to have, but for those who are watching still with us in the live chat, I want you to start thinking about this conversation as it has been so far, and really start thinking about what has been one takeaway that you've already gotten thus far in the conversation. And if you could take that and type it in the live chat, I'm always interested to see what people are resonating with. What's going on, Brother Mo? Just seeing you up there. I didn't know you were here. So with that, I want to move on to the next of the few questions before we start to wrap. So we talked about the mental fortitude, like that mental toughness. What are some of the primary tools for yourself personally, or activities that you have used that really have helped you develop your mental fortitude? And I almost want to take the word mental away and say emotional fortitude, because you've brought up that emotional component of mental proactivity a couple times tonight. What are the tools and the activities that you use to help develop your emotional fortitude?
Well, emotion management, to me, is a skill, and a lot of other people too. Like, you can look at mental skills training, and some people have a couple, some people have a lot. For me, being able to manage your emotions is a skill that a lot of us don't quite develop efficiently when we need to. So you think about let's say how long it might have took us to get to a point where we're like, that don't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you call my mama a what? When I was younger,
Right. Gotta fight you. Try to end your life.
right now. At this stage in the game, it's like, man, words, bruh. Like, I know you're trying to provoke me. Like, so, like, my experience. So, what I like to do is, like, and people, they don't like me for it sometimes, but I pick apart. I pick things apart. So, like you're saying, why? And for everybody in who's watching that personally has experience with me and my whys, I do it to myself too. I don't just do it to the people.
Right.
I be like this, why? I do it to myself. So I mean, I hold that expectation to myself because somebody some time ago asked me why, and I was like, I'm not. It's a feeling. I don't really. It's
Can't put it into
it's just
words.
right, and it's like and I feel kind of paralyzed with that too because I was like, I want to be able to say like, hey, this is why. So I had to start digging a little deeper, and then I also started getting upset with people that couldn't give me more than surface level answers. And so I was like, if I'm gonna hold you to expectation, I gotta hold myself to the expectation. So uh, I just sit a lot and I reflect. So the term I use is self scouting. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Football, we're always scouting our opponents. But you got to turn on the tape and watch yourself from time to time. Like, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you need to improve? Why did you do this? What did you think you were seeing? Questions I'm asking my my players. And, sometimes they're like, I don't know. So that's a great answer though, because now I have something to work with. Right? When they tell me, "Well, I saw this," and I'm like, I clearly don't see how you saw that. We might have a really big problem. Either you're lying, be glasses, something. But
Right.
the big thing, one of the biggest things for me is breaking down those skills and just reevaluating myself, and try to be a better me, every day. 'Cause that's the only way I'm going to help, other people as well. So, like you said, the emotional management component, breaking down and understanding, and then understanding what that was. When I started teaching anger management classes, like that even helped me shift more because people were like, "You're such a patient person." But when I started to learn the things that I was teaching in anger management, it's just about emotions and how they just essentially they exist on a continuum. Like they're not bad, they're necessary. Like they alert you to things, right? So I'm like, all right, well, cool. So there's information, and I like information. So I start feeling stuff. I'm like, okay, what are you trying to tell me, body? Like, what are you trying to tell me, mind?
Right.
Like, you know, because certain things that make us uncomfortable, like if I can attend to myself and figure it out, I can go deal with it. Yeah, that's what, one of the things that, when people are upset with you, sometimes they're upset with themselves because they can't figure it out or they don't want to admit it,
Right.
or that change. So it's like, lately, I got to take my L's in stride. It's like,
Right.
I made that decision, you know what? I feel this way, but is it more important for me to get this done? Yeah. So I'm going to do what I have to do. And that's where the other skills come into play, right? So if you have a goal, right, first of all, we start with the why, right? What is it that drives you? And then once you have that goal in place, then you need to make decisions on the plans and the things that you're going to do to get there. Everything else just kind of starts falling in line. I mean, so it's important for me not to blow my top
Mm-hmm.
because I teach this stuff.
Right.
Like it's important for me because it's my sanity, but also it's like, man, I'm my own product. So,
Right.
so if anybody out there ever sees me extremely pissed off like I used to be when I was a younger man, know that something happened. Like they'll never be able to say, "Hey man, Chris Marshall be tripping like
Right.
over little stuff." Like now, like I thought it well ahead of this, and so I guess that would be the other way that I've handled the emotional parts is thinking about situations and how they're going to play out and the possible outcomes, and then what's my next move. Wait, what's my next move? Like when my little brother passed away, like that was difficult, right? It was difficult because that's a sudden change that you don't want to happen. It's not something you're thinking about, right? We're not regular people. However, like my experiences in life taught me that stuff happens. So not specifically thinking about what if my little brother dies, but I'm thinking about loss and like, right, when people die, like how am I going to handle it? What do I need to do? What do I need to say to myself? Like again, we can't stop death. It's coming. It's going to happen. Uh, and I'd rather be prepared, right, for the bounce back. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not that I don't feel anything, but I also know that my life has to continue.
Right. This was their end, not mine.
Right. So, like, how do I best mourn that experience and continue to push forward? And so once I started, coming up with stuff, then I would think about it like, well, if this happens, I'm gonna definitely need to try this or try that. And some things worked, some things didn't. The biggest thing that like set me in motion to really being proactive with death was when my great aunts passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really realize what that meant until uh, that anxiety attack hit at about midnight one night, and I was like, like, I was like, am I having a stroke? Like, I was 20s. I'm like, what am I? I'm tripping. Like, I'm calling people phone. Like, I think I'm dying. I don't know what's going on. I've never felt this before. I was at Sac State at the time going to school, so I go to the health center and I have them do an EKG, test and stuff because my mom had some heart issues. My grandma passed away like early. My aunt's not like my aunt had some issues, but I'm just like, is this something in the blood? Like I need to get this figured out. Like I'm stressed out. I'm tripping. And they're like, oh, it seems like you're just probably having muscle spasms. Sounds like an anxiety attack. I was like, that was an anxiety attack? I don't want to feel that ever again. No? Like, no, thank you. Like, I don't want that. So, like, I'm not bottling in anything.
Right.
Like, if I'm not gonna speak on it, I gotta find a way to process it, And if it's too big to process, then I'm gonna speak on it. And I gotta share it with somebody, and I gotta do something. And so writing poetry helped out a lot with a lot of those things. Like I got remedies for like some people know me. Like when I have a bad day, I'll go get a milkshake. It feels, it's a quick.
Cool the whole situation off.
Right, go to Baskin Robbins and give me a strawberry cheesecake milkshake, man. And it's just those little things. And some days a milkshake's not gonna do it, right? But you got to have multiple things in place, multiple mechanisms to help you with coping, and that you're only going to know that by again getting in touch, paying attention, studying, and that's the proaction right there. You can't wait for somebody to tell you. Like people will go to a counselor and will expect the counselor to tell them how they best do stuff or what they. But we're perfectly capable of finding out this stuff on our own if we're paying more attention.
Right.
So I tell people, like, as a counselor, I'm not going to fix you. I'm going to help you answer the questions for yourself. Especially
because the answers are inside of you. They're not inside of me. Right. I have like education behind me, but the answer for you is inside of you. No, I like that. It looks like we got a couple of things that people have actually learned in this intersation. Let me see what I got here. Exactly why. Oh, that was Bruce had said it's goal setting, the accuracy, and I said it's exactly why he's killing it in his profession. Antoine Wade has said it's the soft skill that is very important and needed for effective leadership. Mark Anthony said, I learned tonight to do your best to not let outside factors control your mind. At the end of the day, you have the final say on your thoughts and emotions. Don't relinquish your power. And then Selena, I seen this came in when you was talking about getting a milkshake. She just said, yes, yes. Hey, milkshakes are the truth, man. I could have a milkshake a day if they wasn't gonna put 10,000 pounds on me. I would fade one every day, but I'm gonna fade one in Connie's before I leave Sacramento. Um, I do want to ask you this one last question before we wrap tonight, because we didn't touch as much as I would like to. Maybe we'll do another interstation on Mad Society more specifically. But how can viewers learn more about Mad Society, your nonprofit, and get engaged in trying to be a part of that? What did I say in the beginning? Mental proactive legacy. How can they learn more? Where can they learn more? So on and so forth. Break it down for them.
Oh man, so I'm trying to be out there and everywhere. So we got to start somewhere. Right now, the website is www.madsociety. That's two A's in the Mad. If you're on Facebook, Instagram, there's a Mad Society page, Mad Skills page on both Instagram and Facebook. So I share content there a lot. I'm not the biggest fan of memes, but I do share and create them, and they have very long explanations because I feel like memes need explanations because people use them recklessly without a full understanding of the intent. So it's like, I can't be a part of that. I have to give you an explanation. But yeah, so a lot of the content that I create will be there. The information for the fundraising events that I do, I share through those means as well. The classes that we do, the work I'm doing with the student athletes, and all updated on those pages. So please go like, share, follow, look at the content. If something resonates with you, please share it. I mean, that's essentially what we're doing with Mad Society. I have this information that helped me as a student athlete, as a young man, period, and now as a father and moving forward in life. And I want to help get that to those that I know need it, which is pretty much everyone. But my niche is with student athletes. Since I've been coaching, I have a good pulse on them, and they already have something that they already have a why. They love their sport. I'm showing them how to be better in their sport, better as students as well. And then we show them how to transition those skills or apply them in other areas of life. So please, if you find something that resonates with you, share it. Like, don't hoard the good vibes. Like I get a lot of likes, and don't get me wrong, I love the likes, I love the support, right? I love it. But I'll be like, you just hogging all the good vibes, man. Like, go share that stuff out there, tag your buddies in it. Let's grow, because if we can grow this community, like, we can do a lot more. Like, we do a lot more. And you'll see that I have the I Am One campaign. That's like always on there. It's real simple, right? It's a numbers deal, right? I don't want like a large donation. I'll take a large donation, but I'm not looking for like that home run with one person. I want a community of people that are all behind it, supporting it. So now it's not just all on the shoulders of one person. So the ideas behind the IM1 is everybody who signs up, donating at least $1 a month, and we can set up recurring payments, because I know it's hard to remember to donate $1 a month. It'd be hard for me to remember to pay certain bills sometimes. So I know it's gonna be hard, $1 a month, but you can set up recurring payments. But the idea is, the $1 a month, it's just $12 a year. And so some people will be like, man, that ain't much. I don't see how it could help. It's a numbers deal, right? We need to be a community, like, in all areas. We need to support. It's like, Billy's putting me on his show, and Billy's going to be plastered all over Mad Society. We need to grow this community out. So one, it's the burden's not on one person. And the kids I work with, it's different when you say you got like 3,000 people that are behind them.
Right.
I got a lot of people that support because they support me and my vision. So they're indirectly supporting the kids. But if you really believe that we need to help our youth, because they're gonna be running things when we get old, right? If you really believe that we need to help them, then this is one of the easiest things out there that I see that you could do. Again, $1 a month to help me help them get ahead of the curve with the mental skill development, mental proactivity, and really change the narrative, especially for communities like ours. We got to change the narrative, and there's a lot of good work being done. Um, but I like attacking the root of the problem, as we've been mentioning all night, right? Talk about the why, getting to the root, the mental skills. If these kids can't make quality decisions, it doesn't matter what the intent was, right? It doesn't matter how good their heart is, right? And we see that all the time. Like, why did he make that dumb mistake? He wasn't a bad guy. He just made a very bad decision and he got caught, because that's also important too. Because a lot of people ain't getting caught doing something. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna go there another show, but like, just having the ability to develop these skills and really the space and opportunity, and that's one of the reasons why I created this. They don't have the space and opportunity anymore. Like when we were kids, like I had a Nintendo, right? Mm-hmm. You had Duck Hunt, Super Mario, right? I had one stick at the time, so only one person could play, right? We were doing good just to have one Nintendo, and then you were doing good if you had multiple TVs, because
right.
Otherwise, you ain't playing that thing. You got
right one. Until somebody go to bed.
Exactly. So I bring that up when I talk to people about this all the time, because it created space for you to learn patience, right? Mm-hmm. It created space for you to learn vicariously, because you didn't want to get off the sticks. So you're watching the person ahead of you so you don't make them mistakes.
I'm not going to jump right there because I ain't falling in that pit to give you the controller back.
You're liable to be off the sticks for an hour, right? Like, oh, man. So, I started looking at that. It's like, man, we kind of came along in that transition, like right before the technological age really kicked in, and like a lot of the kids, it's not that they don't want it, they haven't had the space and opportunity. Like, you tell these kids, like, you can't even sit still. When have they been required to sit still? They got a laptop, a phone, a tablet. So if I'm playing on the video game and you can't play right now, guess what he's doing? He's on his tablet. He ain't paying attention. Right. So he hasn't been given the opportunity to really develop the skill in the same way. So I want everybody to think about that too sometimes before we pass judgment. Like, yes, there are certain individuals all the time that are just hands down, that's just a bad dude. It's not the case. I'm going to say like 90% of the time. It's usually just the experiences and what's been lacking. So if they don't have the space and opportunity, then it's not going to happen. And then you need a safe place and opportunity, because like we talked about earlier about change and being scared. Hey, we're not working on this at regular school. No. And then it's kind of like you can't even really go to a special program after school, because now they know you in the special program. Right. So
you in the you need help program. See, he need help, y'all. He needs some milk.
That's why, for me, backdooring the issue, it was the way to go. I'm gonna show you how this stuff is going to help you become a better athlete, be more successful at what you're doing, elevate your game. And hey, by the way, this is the stuff that's going to help you in life, help you be more mentally healthy and stable and sound, and be able to reason and make the decisions that are going to put you in the position you want to be in. And in fact, leave that legacy, that you've been talking about, in the future. I think most people want that. We just don't know how to do it. We just don't know how to do it. But yeah, please like, share, follow. Go by the website like a couple times a week so I can get traffic.
Hey, traffic helps. Folks be playing. Traffic helps.
Like, man, hey, we got all this traffic. Let's give them a sponsorship. Hey, there's so many avenues. There's so many avenues, man, that we can attack to affect change in our communities. Like I said, just a lot of people don't see they don't see the end goal the same way. It's like, man, well, yeah, that $12 might help. Nah, it's gonna help.
Right.
It's every little bit means I get to stay here longer and work with a kid. You know, I get to go out and pick a kid up who needs a ride. I can go get a kid a meal who needs something, right? You know, I can spend my time sitting here talking to, because if I don't, I gotta go pay. I got kids, I got bills to pay.
Right.
You know, so I need to go do what I gotta do. But I feel like I have a skill set and I have the passion and desire to do this. So, like, just like, you know, you have what you're doing, right? That's not my lane. That's Billy's lane, right? You're affecting change in a positive way in your lane. So when other people want to do stuff that's in your lane, I'm sending them to Billy.
Right.
I'm not, you know what? Yeah, let me start a show. I can hook you. Nah, that's not my way.
Right, let me build a freeway. There's already this freeway, but let me build a freeway so you could drive your car on my freeway. I ain't got time for that. And that's, you know, a lot of what I'm doing with First Row is just that, is saying, hey, I can create this platform, and there's certain things that I want to bring to the platform, but there's certain areas that I can't speak to. Like, I have a real estate show every other week, and it's with my realtor who is very knowledgeable in the real estate game. That's his lane that I'm gonna let him run. And he's so happened to want to do an accountability. One of the things you talked about was like transparent accountability. He was like, look, I want to start producing video content, and I need you to hold me accountable to that. Okay, well, I already have a video content channel. Just jump on my channel and I will hold you accountable, because I'm going to be telling people, hey, next week you're going to see Keeping It Real Estate with your boy Key Bryant. So I'm throwing that out there, which is now saying, so what, you ain't going to show up? Because now you got to be accountable not only to me and yourself, you got to be accountable to the people who are looking to get that information. So I like what you're saying. I'm gonna give you in 30 seconds or less, because we are at an hour and a half. If you could give us 2 takeaways from the night for those who are watching via live or those watching in the replay, what are the top 2 takeaways that you want people to take away from tonight's conversation?
Self-scouting. Right? Get to know yourself. You got to get to know yourself. Understand you, and don't be afraid of it. Right? And just don't be afraid of that, because you can't expect anybody else to really like you if you don't like you. Okay? Get to know yourself. And also, like I said, do things on purpose and with a purpose. Right? So we want to develop on purpose and with the purpose, because whether you want to or not, you're going to change. Time's going to move. You're going to have experience. You're going to learn things and develop. You're going to develop a mindset based on your experiences. You can either do it purposefully, or you can just be at the mercy of everything else going on around you. So, and self-scout, understand you, get to know you, and move with purpose.
Okay, I like that. So soul scouting and doing things on purpose with a purpose. I'm with that. So for those who are used to or accustomed to the first personal recon, I see that too. It popped up. I call it personal recon. Got him. But for those who are accustomed to being on the first row for Intersations, as you guys know, I have a segment at the end of every Intersation called Tools for the First Row. But before I even get into that, Chris, I want to thank you for just dropping tons of knowledge and wisdom and sharing experiences tonight, and introducing mad skills to the first row audience, and hopefully to the replay audience that'll just randomly, like you said, sometimes randomly click in. What's that mean? Click, and just it creates an exposure, it plants a seed. So I want to appreciate you for coming on tonight, taking your time to really address some deep issues that a lot of us have yet to rectify within ourselves, and provide a couple of tools for people to begin to look at addressing some deeper issues that are within ourselves as well. But for those who are accustomed to the first row intersations know that I have some tools for the first row. And actually tonight, this was a difficult, I'll be honest, this was a difficult topic to come up with the tools for tonight. So instead of my customary 4 or more, I actually have 3 tools tonight for the first row when it comes to mental proactivity. And so these are just tools, like I said, when I'm looking at the content and I'm trying to relate it or do that personal recon for myself or that soul scouting, I'm looking at what tools am I using in this area of my life, or what tools do I wish I would have known about sooner, or what tools do I want to get to know because I didn't know them prior to thinking about this concept. And so these are just tools that I want to share with you, hopefully to help you develop even a stronger bond with the aspect of mental proactivity. Hope you got your pens and paper ready, because we're going to jump straight into them. So the first tool that I came up with when it comes to mental proactivity was develop your emotional intelligence. And there's a gentleman in here by the name of Antoine Wade, and he just recently, he has a YouTube channel as well, but he just recently had almost said an Intersation, Antoine. He just recently had a show on his channel, Black Heights, where he was talking to a guest and they were talking about emotional intelligence. And you can find books on this. You can look under EQ, emotional quotient. But looking at emotional intelligence as a area that we need to expand on, and getting to a place where we understand our emotions better, because our emotions are critical to our decision making process when we do not understand them. When we understand our emotions, they are, I would say, equally as important to our decision making process, but less critical in the decisions that we make. So the reason I say that is because our emotions, when we're in an emotionally compromised or an emotionally immature state, our emotions can cause us to make decisions that we would, in a non-compromised state, know were not the right decision. So let's say you're angry or you're upset, and so you're at the bar having a drink, so you're inebriated because you've been drinking, and now you're emotionally compromised, and somebody says something, we're going to go back to your mama, says something about your mama, and now you're over here fighting and engaging in an assault because they said something, because they said some words that the words didn't make you angry, the words actually hurt, but because of the lack of the understanding of our emotions, we took this filter of hurt, or we took this experience of hurt, like, dang, that was disrespectful. I don't like the way that made me feel or think about my mom. And we take it and we put it through a filter of anger. And so now we're sitting here and we're in a fist fight. So emotional understanding, or developing your emotional intelligence, your EQ, is critical, because it's going to allow you, as you become better aware, it's going to allow you to address the real situation. If somebody says something that hurts you, let's say you're dealing with emotional sadness, instead of addressing it by going shopping and spending money, and now you're broke, and that creates other feelings of sadness and resentment and regret, instead of approaching the wrong things, you're going to say, I'm sad, and you're going to start asking what Chris was bringing in the very beginning, that why am I sad? What's initiating this sadness? What am I feeling inside? And then with that emotional intelligence, you're able to start actually forming and compiling a solution or a strategy to deal with the sadness, versus dealing with it with materialistic or distraction mentality. So that's the first tool that I came up with. Develop your emotional intelligence. It's going to be very critical, I think, to the other tools. The second tool that I came up with is take lessons from your past failures. And so it's like if you're in school and you're taking a test. While you're taking that test, you can go, let's say you get 8 out of 10, so you get a B. You can look at the answers that you got wrong. And if somebody gives you feedback and says, hey, here's the answer that it should have been, and here's where you made your mistake. This probably is going to be best in a math test. Here's where you added 2 instead of subtracted 2, or here's where you didn't carry the 1 and you forgot to add it to the equation, whatever it may be. Now you can take that failure and say, okay, so this is where I failed in this, and this is how I can apply the solution going forward. So when you're dealing with similar issues, similar problems, you're able to take those lessons from that failure and apply them and say, oh yeah, I need to remember that I need to add 2 here, or I need to carry the 1 here, versus just saying, oh, it's my past. I let my past be my past. I don't look back. I'm not saying walk in life looking backwards, not seeing what's coming ahead in the future. But there are certain things and certain aspects of our past failures that are very relevant to the makeup of who we are at the core. So be willing to look at those past failures and glean the lessons that you can glean out of them. Um, and don't be so worried about trying to act like they never happened or act like you've just had it right. Because in all honesty, when you try to act like you've had it right, going back to that mental proactivity legacy, the people who are watching you via Instagram, via social media, they think that they're messing up and they're doing everything wrong because you did everything right. If there's one thing that I could do if I was doing recorded content on First Row, it would be provide the bloopers. And here's where I used the wrong word. And here's where I fell out of my chair. And here's where I dropped my microphone and I knocked my camera down. If I wasn't doing it live, I would love to include the bloopers because it shows the humanity, the human nature of that we're going to make mistakes along the path. It's not about the mistakes we make, even though some of them can be horrible mistakes. Some of them can land you in prison for life. However, even with that mistake, it's what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Even if you're going to be incarcerated for the rest of your life, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? What kind of change, what kind of legacy are you going to leave behind? And so that's the second tool is take lessons from past failures. And then the third tool, final tool for the night, is both proactivity and procrastination. They have a cost. And so whether you're going to be mentally proactive or you're going to mentally procrastinate, it's going to come at a cost. If you're mentally proactive, the cost is in that moment, you have to divert and intentionally allocate resources, mental resources, to expanding your mind's ability to process situations, life situations, experiences. And in that cost, it may be uncomfortable. It may come with some discomfort. It may come with some fears that you have to face, some courage that you have to muster up. But putting that investment up first and foremost will help you down the road. On the counter to that is mental procrastination. It will leave you ill prepared and immature for the experiences that you're going to have inevitably, because experiences are going to come one way or the other. Doesn't matter if you're prepared or not prepared. Experiences are going to come. So when you get your first bill, it doesn't matter whether or not you have a job or not, the bill is due. So realize that either way, whether you're being proactive or you're going to procrastinate, both of those come at a cost, and the cost of doing nothing typically 9 times out of 10 means that you're going to be ill prepared. And if the cost of doing something is that people just consider you lucky because you're always in the right place at the right time, there is no such thing as the right place at the right time when you procrastinate, unfortunately. So those are the 3 tools that I wanted to drop with you for the First Row tonight. First one, again, develop your emotional intelligence, your EQ. The second one is take lessons from past failures. And the third one being both proactivity and procrastination both have a cost that is allocated to them. So I hope you guys, I appreciate that. Hey, subscription, like like Chris said, hey, we like likes, we like shares, we like subscribers, we like traffic. So I appreciate it. But I really appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. I'm going to catch up the chat really quick. Looks like my brother Damian Rowe tapped in. I don't know if you're still here. Quick announcement. I want to thank First Row and all First Row viewers for supporting my forthcoming book, Modern Day Mentor. Though we had a special for that, that is actually over. So sorry if you missed out on it. That ended on March 31st. Should have came and been a viewer earlier, but hey, it's life. But you can still get the book. If you want to get more information about that book, send an email to moderndaymentor@firstrow.com. And it's spelled just like it looks up there, Modern Day Mentor at 1stwroe.com. We entered full print production today, so stay tuned for the release date. I appreciate you all for supporting. All right, just hijack my show, man. Anyway, I love you, bro. He also said, excellent show, gentlemen. At Chris, I see you, Chris. Thanks. Got a subscription. Is there somebody else? I'm sorry, Tangeray 10. Tangeray. Genitalic. Was Nipsey Hussle proactive? Should he have been there? Huh. I mean, you're at where you're at in life. I don't know enough about Nipsey's documentary that a lot of people are talking about to speak on that, but I don't think it's more. I don't think the question is whether he was proactive. I think the question is had he started working on his legacy sooner in life, how much more would he have accomplished? And so I'm always legacy minded. It's like I think he was working on some great things that would have been amazing to see come to the forefront. Especially, I love documentaries. But had he been working on that legacy maybe from the beginning or sooner, how much more would we have all had access to? And then, what is your mission? What is your ideal client? I'm not sure if that's a. Can you clarify if that's a question for Chris or for myself? And I think it's Malia. Am I saying that right, Chris? Malia?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but speaking on the Nipsey deal, like in a way, like he was being, well, at least his work was proactive, in the limited information that I, know of. And so, I mean, I listen to the music, but, you know, just some of the success tips that he was leaving, the business tips, and what he was trying to do in his own community is essentially being proactive, in my opinion, because of how we have historically gone about trying to enact change, like asking for it. Mm-hmm. So he was going out and, in fact, making change happen instead of waiting for it. He took his platform and took what he had been doing, and he built something to where he was building that legacy again that you were speaking upon, not waiting for someone to come save us. We can all be like, there's definitely some things need to be changed. And there are definitely flaws in our system, but currently it's what we have. So what are we doing while we're here? Instead of just waiting, our education, it sucks. Okay. What are we going to do to change that? And in the meantime, while it sucks, what are we going to do to improve it? Like, what else can we do? Again, it's like what we're trying to do now. And I feel like the mental skill stuff, psychology, it should be part of K through 12.
Right.
We spend that many years not developing that stuff on purpose. So, and even now, more so than ever, in my opinion, because we're in this technological stage and the world is all connected, and like we're talking face to face, but not face to face. Like, like there's all this stuff, and the kids have all this information that's coming in and out of their brain, and they haven't learned to process it.
Right. Nor filter it.
We hold them accountable for certain things. But we're not going to give them the arena to develop the skills that you need to process. We know adults that cannot process social media.
Right. And it's clear that they can't process it because it'll suck you in for hours and you'll just be scrolling in the twilight zone. And it's like, okay, there's no way you've processed 700 different posts. So I agree. So let's end with this because Malia asked a question. She said, what is your mission? Who is your ideal client? She said that's a question for both of us. So I'll let you go first and then I'll close us out.
Well, my mission for the nonprofit is to help empower individuals from within, mentally from within, to become the best version of themselves, go off and be successful, whatever that may mean to them, their definition, but definitely developing those skills for them to put themselves in the best positions possible. With the nonprofit, the ideal client is the student athlete. That's where my niche, that's where I'm focusing. You got to have, I can help everybody, but then I not be helping many people. So the nonprofit, I work primarily with student athletes 12 and up. With match skills, like my ideal client is somebody who's ready to work.
Mhm.
Any anybody ready to work, because I can't pull you along, right? The horse, the water that we had in the comments earlier, like I can't pull you along. But if you're ready to work, you know, I got some stuff for you that you can do to help you out, you know. And if I don't got stuff for you, we'll find somebody. Again, like I'm at a level, and there's always people at different levels. You might be well ahead and outgrow me, but I am good at finding resources. So for Mad Skills, it's everybody.
I like that. No, you back to that horse. I can't pull you to the pond and force you to drink. I could drown you, but I can't force you to drink. um, so to answer your question, when it comes to the first row, what is your mission? In all honesty, my mission is to the purpose of first row is to share stories, to share the stories that I'm privy to because I have a vast network, sharing those stories and getting them out so that we're all experiencing growth at an accelerated clip. One of the things that Chris said in the beginning or during the beginning of this intersation was that ignorance, never being exposed to information, never being exposed to certain solutions doesn't mean that you didn't want to use a solution. It means you never heard about it. You never knew about it to apply it. And so a lot of First Row's mission is really exposing, bringing light into those shadows, and not the negative shadows, but into those stories that we would never hear, like that we would never see, that we would never be exposed to help uplift all of us into the best authentic version of ourselves that we can be. That is the overall mission, and whether that's via real estate, via finances, via leadership, via conversation, via Wednesday words, that is the overall driving force for the First Row platform and why I come back week after week on this platform. The ideal client for the First Row are people who are hungry and are hungry about growth in their lives. Like they're willing to invest in it financially. They're willing to invest in it with their time. They're willing to do the work because I'm not doing the work for anybody. Like I'm a big advocate. Like, hey, I'll set up a seminar and set up a class and set up a conference, but it's up to you to do the work. I'm not going to take the notes for you. It's up to you to take those notes. It's up to you to pull those nuggets and those gems out that you can apply to you. Because at the end of the day, the information that we are providing on the First Row, though it may be encapsulated in different forms that are easier for some people to digest than others, at the end of the day, I'm an avid believer that everything that we have within us holds the answer. And it's just a matter of resonating with that answer that's within for it to become crystal clear. There are things in life that I have experienced that I just didn't have the grasp to understand within myself. And then one experience or one conversation says, oh, snap, that's what that was. That's what I was thinking. And that's how I wanted to apply it. I just didn't know how to articulate it to where I could understand and activate it. So the ideal client is somebody who is hungry to grow, is not just looking for free content. We're actually going to be in the process of developing a master's class on compassion fatigue, really breaking that down. It's an intersation that I did with Brother Moses Jenkins. So we're going to be actually developing a master's class on that. But that's going to come at a cost. That's not just going to be an intersation and we're going to give you everything on compassion fatigue. That's going to come at a cost. So the ideal client is somebody who's willing to pay that cost in order to get that information because they understand that understanding compassion fatigue within themselves is going to help them get to the higher levels in life, whether it's professionally, personally, in relationships, independently, in every area of their life. They're going to understand something better about themselves, and it's going to make them more harmonious with their environment and the things that they seek to achieve. So overall, in a nutshell, that's what First Row is about, bringing in people who have great stories to share, like Chris and many others who have been on the channel, and sharing those stories to help engage and uplift each and every one of us who's watching live or via a replay or sharing with their family members. So in a nutshell, that's what we're about. I hope that answers everybody's questions for the night. Normally we don't have like a Q&A after, but I kind of like that. That's cool. But I really appreciate you guys for being on the live vote. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please take a moment to subscribe. Please take a moment to like the channel. It helps me move up in the YouTube analytics, so that way it gets these videos more exposure, which is going to, again, promote more growth across the internet. I think there's a lacking of positive content that's just real everyday people. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not telling you I can fix every problem in life, but I have a diverse network of people that I can reach out to that are definitely world changers. So please, please, please take the time to engage with the content, share it on your social media. And actually, if you have a topic that you would like to share with us for us to explore on the first row, whether it's an intersation or if it's on another segment, Wednesday Word or whatever it may be, please feel free to email us at topics@firstrow.com. I will put that actually in the live chat for those who are interested. If we do use your chat or your topic, we will actually reach out to you to let you know what day it will be aired live, and we'll actually give you a shout out in that video. So feel free. We're happy to engage with whatever content that you're interested in hearing, just as much as we want to produce content that you may not have yet thought of. So with that, as always, with every Intersation, everything I do on the first row, I tell you, if you like the video, share it. If you share it, like it. We're happy to engage with you in the live chat. We're happy to engage with you in the comments if you're watching via the replay up to the first week of the video being released. After that, we move on to the next content. But until the next time that we see you, we thank you for you joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you on the first row next. Oh, wait, tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Wednesday Word. I forgot to tell you guys. The Wednesday Word tomorrow will actually be at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is I think it's Catch Up to Your Change. That's what it is. Catch Up to Your Change. And then we actually will have a special show, the first show by Brother Moses, coming this Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That show is, sorry, I got to actually go down to that one because it's such a new show. I don't know the name of it yet. Is, there we go. Effective mentor and mentoree relationships. And that's with Bill Buford. And Brother Moses will be kicking that show off. So it's his first show. You guys come out, show him some love, show him some support. It's 9 a.m. Like you said, what type of client do we want? We want a client who's willing to wake up at 9 a.m. because it's going to help them grow and help them thrive in the areas that they're working towards in life. So as always, if you like it, share it, like it. Happy to engage with you in the comments. And we're happy to engage with you in the chat. Until the next time, one love, peace, and God bless.